sometimes the data that you're mapping is really, really big, and the GeoJSON files that you're using could be many, many megabytes. Using the techniques that we've walked through so far, you would actually have to have your audience download that huge GeoJSON file in order to put it on the Mapbox map. That's how it's been working so far. But there is a way around this for when you have really big data files. So the cool thing about services like Mapbox or Google Maps is that the map you get is just what you need, right? I mean, the entire globe is here, right? But we don't see the whole planet at once. What we see are tiles. So there might be, I don't know, maybe 6 tiles that I can see here. You don't see them actually, but basically this screen is divided into 6 tiles. And what Mapbox and Google Maps also does is as you zoom out, it adds the tiles that you need just to see the part of the planet that you're looking at, which is amazing, right? Because what it means is that you don't have to download the whole globe at every zoom level in order to explore your maps, right? So for example, and you can see actually when I zoom out, you can see the tiles fill in on the side. Watch. See if it does it again. Oh, a little bit. If I move real fast, you can see that they sort of fill in on the side. Those are the tiles being added to the map. Which is great because the whole Earth, especially all of the streets and everything for the whole Earth, that's a lot of information, but you just see a piece of it at a time. So you can use this to your advantage too for your own data. Let me show you what I mean. Sometimes your data is so big that it would just take a lot to download it all, like we did for the hurricane zones or for the earthquakes. Right? Those files are, this is a pretty decent size. It's maybe a couple megabytes, but it loads pretty quickly. But you don't want to have to make your audience download a 22 megabyte file just to show it on a map. And that's what you'd run into if you wanted to do something like I wanted to do, which was here at the National Weather Service, in the United States, they have this map. And I'm going to click on it. These are the paths of tornadoes, twisters, from 1950 to 2020. So here's the map. This is just a PNG file, and each one of these red lines is the path of a tornado, which is interesting. But wouldn't it be more interesting if I could see this with cities and towns and streets? I think so. Fortunately, the Weather Service provides a zip file right here. You can download the paths, and that downloads a shapefile. And so you can do that. Unfortunately, it's a huge file. It's, I think, more than 20 megabytes. So I downloaded that, and I used MapShaper to turn that into a GeoJSON file, which is what I need for Mapbox. And that was it was 22 megabytes, way too big. So let me show you what I did instead. I went to Mapbox and logged into my account. And then if you click over here in the corner, go to account. Here we are. Let's see. Here's my account. And up in the corner, it's a little bit hidden, but there's a thing called Mapbox Studio, which allows you to actually make some of these tiles. There's a lot here. I'm just going to show you a little bit of it. So if I click on this little person and click on Studio, I'm in Mapbox Studio. And really what I want is I want to create a tile set, and that's up here in the upper right. I'm going to click on tile sets. And this blue button allows me to make a new tile set. So I can click on new tile set. There are definite limits to this. They want you to use an API to upload things mostly, but you do get 20 uploads per month for free, and they can be up to 30 megabytes per upload. And so I haven't hit my limits yet, and this is just 22, 23 megabytes. So I can upload just by dropping here. I can upload my JSON file, and it will turn it into tiles for me. So that takes a minute, but once it's uploaded, you can see here I now have a custom tile set. It's this one right here. And it's available to me in Mapbox. So there's a couple of pieces of information I need from this menu. One is this name right here, which we'll be using in a minute. And also, if you click on this little dot menu, there's a tile set ID, and I need that because I'm going to reference it later. So that's this one right here, and I can copy that to my clipboard. But let's go back to the code. I've actually already written up the code for you again, so you can see how this works. So in a very similar way, I can add a layer with this data. There's some different components to it. Let's just talk about them. So here's the big tornado layer. So if you copy that, and again, let's just scroll up to above where the stars are. There's the star line. And so I'm just going to paste it here, edit, paste. And let me just show you what's happening. First of all, over in the window here, you can see we have blue lines. Those are paths of tornadoes. And in the code, just to show you what's happening, again, we have two blocks. The first one is saying I'm going to call this tornado paths. The type is not a GeoJSON file, it's a vector file. And instead of a data field here, we have a URL. And the URL is Mapbox : // and then this code is the code I copied here. That's this tile set ID. Okay, so that is this code here. So it's going to get that tile set instead of a GeoJSON file. And then I need to add it to the map, which is very similar to what I did before. Again, we're making a new layer. I'm calling it tornado layer. It is a type of line, so we have lines. I'm going to get this from the source, which is tornado paths. And the source layer, this is a new field I've needed here, is this name here, which was, if I go back to Mapbox Studio, it's the name that's right here, the name of the tile set. Okay, and so that's there. And then I painted the line color blue, and I painted the line width as half of a pixel. Again, I'm tucking them under the labels, the roads label and the city label, so we can see where the tornadoes are. And if I zoom out, I actually have, and you can see them being added as I move out, I actually have all the tornadoes for the whole country. And I can zoom in and see where some of these tornadoes went very specifically down to the streets and down to the cities. And it's much more informative than just that big graphic that I could have downloaded from the National Weather Service. I'm able to take the data and actually add it to our disaster map and see all of the different tornadoes on the planet. I could go in and do more tweaking of this and make the colors different according to the strength of the tornadoes, kind of like we did for earthquakes. But at least you get the idea. I wanted you to know that you could load in tile sets too, and this way your audience only gets the tiles it needs to show the data, and you don't have to actually have them download 22 megabytes of data, just the ones that they need. And this can just be useful for very, very large data sets. This, by the way, is essentially what I did to be able to display this huge data set of race and ethnicity across the United States based on the newest census. And you can see there's just a lot of data here. And we have the entire country. And in order to do that, it would just be way too much for any one person to download. But I was able to make a big, huge tile set. Actually, there's actually a couple tile sets in here. and it allows you to zoom in and zoom out, and you only get the tiles you need to display the data. And again, this would have just been way too much data to download to somebody's phone, but if we tile it, it allows you to see the data that you want to see, just as you zoom in and zoom out and pan around. So that's Mapbox. There's so much more it can do, of course, but I hope this gives you a basis for starting your own maps, trying things out, and exploring some more. Next week, we're going to talk about Map Shaper. It's kind of a utility knife tool that allows you to do many things, including making GeoJSON files like the ones we used for the Mapbox maps. And it allows you to replicate your process. So if you make a map 1 month and you come back and you have new data and you want to make a new version of it, you can do it with just a few words. I'll show you how, and that's next week.